people who grew up really poor. What's something middle class people say that instantly reveals they've never struggled? Loose Socks up says, my stepdad asked me if I wanted to go clothes shopping for the new school year the first year after he married my mom. I said yes, and was amazed when we went to Kohl's, not the thrift store. I got one pair of pants on clearance and 2 shirts on clearance and told him I was ready to check out. He took me back to the clothes and picked out more for me. I nearly had a panic attack when we got to the register, and it was over $100. This was late 90s, so a lot of money for clothes back then, at least to me. I started pulling stuff out to put back, and he stopped me and asked what I was doing. He paid, and I got to take all of it home, and he did this every year until I moved out. Before this, we weren't allowed to turn on lights in the house during the day to keep the electric bill low. Edit. Thank you for all the awards. Also, I should clarify about the comment about the lights. We had always lived in Section 8 apartments and tiny duplexes. They don't normally have a lot of windows. I remember one had a window technically in my room, but it was tiny. Also, this rule stood even on cloudy and overcast days. I loved my stepdad very much. He passed away a few years ago from liver cancer, but I was his caregiver to the very end, and I held his hand as he took his last breath. He was a special ed teacher his entire adult life, and raised me in a way I later learned other kids weren't raised. I grew up around children with all types of physical and mental disabilities, and they were my best friends. Something that I learned in high school is unusual. He looked just like Santa Claus and was a true hippie, minus the drugs. He believed in putting positive energy into the world and firmly believed God is love. He sold handmade incense from India, China, and Japan through his college years, and I inherited what remained of his stock when he passed. His living room was basically a library with floor-to-ceiling built-in bookshelves, and he took me to the library twice a week minimum. He was strict. I had to read 30 minutes of poetry, 30 minutes of a biography, and 1 hour of a chapter book of my choosing, and write an entire page of whatever I wanted to write every day during summer breaks, and I had to do more chores than most. But I was in gymnastics, on a swim team, and rode horses as well, and I never thought I would be the kind of kid that would be able to do that. Because of all the reading and writing, school was easy to me. He was a folk singer-songwriter and ran a local music venue that brought traveling musicians to the area. It ran on donations, and he paid from his own wallet when donations were short. We baked cookies every weekend for it. People still talk about his listening room, a term that is widely used now, but one he coined over 30 years ago when he started his venue. It was lit by candlelight, and guests would sit at tables. The musicians weren't on a stage, they were there in the audience. You could reach out and touch their instruments if you were rude enough. The venue itself was in a renovated house built in the early to mid-1900s. It wasn't perfect, but he was pretty much as close as you could get and still be human. He completely changed the trajectory of my entire life. I miss him every day. I'm so glad I got to share what was probably to him such a small contribution, but such a connecting moment with all of you. Zerby says, just ask your parents for money. Was a phrase my upper middle class roommate used all the time in college. Dude, they didn't have any money either. He was given money from his parents and grandparents every weekend and blew it all on booze and clubbing. I struggled to figure out how to pay for my next meal. OK Olive 9438 says, the phrase annual vacation.